Alrighty then, let's just jump right in. I am Luther Bravo. This is Bystander Impact, uh, Fireside Chats. You already know, courtesy of, I don't even know, I think it was Ronald Reagan who started the Fireside Chats as the president, but we gotta reclaim that, so let's just go ahead and jump right into this, right? You know what, let's start over. Who cares? I'll just cut the first minute or so of this. So, anyway, let's go ahead. Let's jump right into this. I am Luther Bravo. This is Bystander Impact. Uh, I guess session one, episode one, whatever. I'll figure out the title later. But yeah, it is as of recording February 28th, 2026. It's the last day of Black History Month. Um, and I just feel like there's just so much I gotta say. So I'm recording it, I'm saying it, I'm gonna post it out there on the interwebs. And if you're listening to this, you're out there somewhere, and I appreciate you. Now, let's get into this, right? So for some context, right? I am a black Puerto Rican trans guy. Uh, I'm finishing my master's degree in sustainability. I earned my bachelor's degree under the first Trump administration in psychology. Um, and Trump started, running and everything for president, like like the end of my junior year, and I voted my freshman year of college for Hillary and everything, and obviously he lost. I mean, obviously Hillary lost and Trump won, but whatever. Here we are, right? So I have been dealing with this maniac the entirety of my adult life, right? I have just been dealing with these outrageous headlines, all of these scandals, and it's just been ridiculous, dude. And here's the thing, right? I remember, right, because I was born in 98. uh, I remember back in the day when if you were always talking about politics, right, you were crazy, you were a liberal, all this, you know what I mean? And that very much, carried over well into this Trump era, this past decade, right? We're basically over a decade, too, of Trump being in power, Trump being like just this political guy and taking up so much space in the American political landscape that here's the thing now, right? All of the things that I remember being scared about, being concerned about, and I remember like my classmates and adults around me were like, well, even if he does win, even if he does get in, it's not going to be that bad. And it's even worse, dude. It's even worse than I thought it would be. Um, right, not even last year, 2 years ago, November, about a year and a half ago, basically, when Kamala Harris lost to Donald Trump, she said exactly what would happen. She was like, in a year, he's going to drag us into a war, and grocery prices are going to be through the roof. What happened? Right? Today, I was in Dick's Sporting Goods of all places, right? And Dick's Sporting Goods, they normally play like whatever sports game is on. They were playing a Flyers hockey game. Boom, interrupted breaking news to tell us that you know, the US and Israel in a joint effort, bombed Iran or Iran, I'm sorry. And boom, the supreme leader there is dead. And obviously, I'm not that versed in the Iranian politics. I do not know how to pronounce this man's name. I'm not saying he was some type of saint, but like we're doing way too much, guys. We got way too much dip on our chips because, like, right, as I didn't even record anything back then, but like we kidnapped the president of Venezuela, straight up kidnapped him or whatever, dude. Like it's crazy, man. We're there. He's doing way too much, right? This is like the top of it, right? They're performing conversion therapy on transgender inmates in federal prisons. It's ridiculous. And here's the thing, guys. I don't care how you feel about trans people. I don't care how you feel about prisoners. That is crazy. Performing like that is wild. That is cruel and unusual punishment. It's experimentation. This is in the Nuremberg trials. Like, And if you don't believe me, go look it up, dude. You can't do this stuff. And here we are doing it. And you got people out here that are still just so obsessed and hateful that they're like, well, I agree with it. You don't agree with anything, man. You don't have an original thought in your head, man. And it's crazy. It's sick. It's just a sick, sick time that we live in. It's a sick, sick world. And the crazier thing about all of this is there's so many people that want to consider themselves centrist. They think that they're above it all. They think that they're better than the, they would call a person like me a reactionary leftist. And they think that the alt right maggots, right? That's what they call the Trump supporters. They think they're better than all of them. And honestly, man, at this point in my life, at this point in the game, I think they're the worst. I think people who can't pick a side, people who are over here trying to straddle the fence at this point in the game, this deep in, you are scum, dude. Like I honestly like at least if you're like some MAGA Trump supporter, you know what I mean? At least you have a perspective. At least you're, you know what I mean? Because like these people who are like, well, it's not so bad. It's not, you know what I mean? I agree with some things, but not everything. Like, come on, man. Come on, dude. This stuff is ridiculous, right? I haven't even gotten into all of the stuff that he's been doing with DHS and these mass uh, deportation things. I haven't even gotten into the fact that I believe JD Vance was the one that said that they were going to stop funding or like slow down the funding um, for Minnesota's like SNAP programs and the federal court. Like it's crazy, man. It's just crazy, dude. Because like Trump went on a like, and I'm all over the place right now. It's the first recording. I don't even care. Um, I just got to get these thoughts out there and get this out to the world, right? You guys got to know, like, there, there are Americans here that obviously we don't agree with what's going on. There are Americans here that are obviously protesting and advocating for different and all of the things, right? Like we all don't agree with this maniac, right? But the crazy thing is, and this is why I'm talking about it, is that there's so many people that are just so terrified, I believe, to say anything, right? Everyone thinks it's like so lame to be politically involved. Everyone, right? They have done such a PR like hit job on being politically active that people won't even post about things that directly impact them, dude. I can't even wrap my head around it, and it's something that I live with and see every single day of my life, and it's something that I've been seeing for the past 10 years of my life, dude. And you can't make this stuff up, right? There's so many people who think that they're going to be some type of exception to everything that's going on, right? And we've seen that a lot with certain Latino voters, and of course, I'm not blaming Latino voters for, Trump being elected, but we got the facts are the facts. We got to talk about them, right? There were so many Latinos for Trump, and there have been so many stories just pouring out about all these Latinos who have been, deported or facing deportation, and they voted for Trump. They didn't think it would be them, and boom, there it is. It's you, dude. And this is the things that we're talking about, right? There's so many people that are like, "Well, I voted for Trump for the economy," right? Like farmers are one of the main ones, right? Because of Trump's tariffs, right? And just how insanely hostile he is to all foreign nations. Farmers are getting fucked, dude. They are getting hammered, man. It's not a good look at all, right? There's so many farmers that have put out stories on multiple multiple news stories. Have talked to so many journalists about how, yeah, I did vote for Trump, but now my farm's at risk. I don't have any workers because they all left because they're scared to get deported, because they're scared to get deported. They can't pull all these tomatoes or potatoes or carrots or corn by themselves. All this, right? All this straight up belly aching, right? But it's like you didn't care about any of that. You didn't care about any of that, right? Because you were so concerned, you were so fixated, right, on ending women's rights to abortion, right, on getting trans women out of women's sports. You don't even name, like, you don't care about women's sports. Name three WNBA teams. Name three. I'll sit here and I'll wait. Actually, I won't. This is a recording. But my point is, you can't name three WNBA teams. You can't name five active, not previous, five active women professional athletes. Right, so it was never about that. It was never about kids, right? It was never about the jobs or doing it the right way, right? When it comes to the immigration thing, and we know that because they have been arresting people at their immigration trials and hearings. The ICE has been going up to these courts, snatching these people and deporting them to who knows where. Because here's the thing, right? Here's the other thing about that: they're not even deporting people from their back to their country of origin. They're just sending them wherever they can, man. It's actually absolutely diabolical, disgusting, and insane that you have people like still supporting this. You have people that, like, oh no, I don't get into politics, I don't deal with that, and looking away. And this is really why I want to get into everything, right? Um I call this whole project, this political art project that I'm doing Bystander Impact, because bystanders are the one making the real impact I've noticed over this past decade in political history for the U.S. and continuing on as we continue to, course correct and try to get us to a salvageable place here. Because here's the thing, man. You looking away or you silently observing just ensures that this shit would keep happening. Just ensures that this shit would just keep on going because you're too scared to say something. And that's the thing, like saying something, right? It doesn't guarantee any change, but it guarantees the fact that you know what? You said something and it guarantees action. Right? It encourages other people to say something and encourages other people to take action. Right? Staying silent during these times is like the worst thing you can do, man. It's absolutely the worst thing you can do. Right? Because here's the thing, everybody is under attack right now. And if you think that you're not under attack, you're a fool, man. You're a fool, right? They're attacking the economy, right? Grocery prices are absolutely ridiculous, right? Right, gas prices are kind of decent, at least where I'm at. But grocery, like, who cares where you can go if you can't eat? You know what I mean? If you can't afford to eat, I saw the news story of a woman who was over, who she was in her 60s, and since Trump has been elected, she's like lost like nearly 20 pounds, if not more, because she can't afford to eat because of the tariffs and everything. Right. And she just can't afford to eat. She's on a fixed income. It's sad. People are slowly starving to death, right? And that's someone that can afford to slowly starve to death, let alone the thousands, if not millions of Americans who can't afford to slowly starve to death and are just quickly starving to death. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And then you'll have people, right, um, who who think this is cool, who think, this is the right way America should be. And mind you, America has always been a place where, if you want to get ahead, if you want to be successful, you're going to need some type of government handout, man. You're going to get some type of government handout, right? And if it's not a government handout, right, then you're gonna need you know, um, a one up or whatever on some type of really cheap labor, right? And we have so many ways, right? Even after the abolishment of slavery, right? What do we got? The prison industrial complex, and boom, what is that? Just slave labor with extra steps, man. And obviously, that's not Trump's fault. That has been in place long before Trump has gotten on the scene. But now that Trump is here and Trump has been here for a decade, all of this stuff is so much worse. People's opinions to this stuff is so much worse because people are so numb to how disgusting and ghoulish all of this stuff is. Okay, right. So I'm gonna do multiple episodes of this, and we're gonna get into like the trans stuff. That's gonna be its own stuff, right? The DHS stuff is gonna be its own stuff. What they're doing to women is gonna be its own stuff. What they're doing to black people is gonna be its own stuff. What they're doing to Native Americans is gonna be their own stuff. This is basically kind of just more of a jumping off point, right? I'm not even gonna be able to touch all of the crazy things that he's doing um in this introductory episode, but I'm gonna definitely do my best and just I'm definitely speaking off the cuff here. There's no script. I just wanted to, record something and get it out because I'm just kind of a little bit revved up, man. And the thing is, like, we're just not angry enough as a society, as a collective. We're just not angry enough at what has been going on um, in our country, what's been going on to our neighbors, what's been going on to us, right? There is no one. I refuse to believe that there's anyone that's batting 1,000 right now under this current Trump administration. Even Elon Musk has gotten the short end of the stick sometimes. And that's Elon. Like, they were butt buddies and for a while, and then they weren't. They had this big falling out, and it's just ridiculous because there are so many people who will look you in the eye, look you in the eye, and say that they fully support what's going on. They fully support Trump. And then on the flip side of that, then you have people who will be like, yeah, I voted for Trump 3 times, but I didn't vote for this. I didn't know. I was manipulated, all this other stuff. And it's just like, bro, I don't even know what to think for those people, right? Because you know what? Maybe you were manipulated. Maybe, but maybe you were. Maybe you couldn't see clearly. Whatever, indoctrination. There's so many things that we could use to excuse the fact that you voted for a guy with like what 32 or 34 felonies, that you voted for a guy that has been the worst president in American history, right? And I'm talking about this second time, right? If you voted for him, not the second time, but the third time that you would have voted for him because he lost to Joe Biden in 2020, right? He can only beat women that are already unpopular because and it's not that Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris are unpopular because they're bad politicians. They're really not. They're very effective. It's because you know this is an extremely misogynistic country, and that's the biggest thing. Like there are going to be people who I called Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton effective politicians that are going to disagree with that, but at the end of the day they are. Right? Here's the thing that I think, has definitely gotten lost in all of this, right? With especially has always been the thing with like the Republican Party, like, oh, I want a candidate I can grab a beer with. Trump seems like a straight shooter, all that jazz, right? I want my politician cutthroat. I want my politician conniving. I want my politician to be a bit of a snake in the grass, man. That's how you get stuff done. And we used to have this quiet understanding, right? That is what you're voting in for president. And now everybody wants some nice goody goody who's so upright and moral. And like, yeah, yeah, I get that because of who's currently in office, right? But, like, at the end of the day, most of your politicians aren't gonna be that, and you don't want them to be. You don't want them to be. You want them to be somebody that's gonna be effective, somebody that's gonna be able to, whip up some votes. Like Nancy Pelosi gets, she gets so much slack, and you know what? She should retire. I'm not even saying that she shouldn't, but back when she was, Speaker of the House, whether she was in the majority or the minority, she was whipping them votes. She was whipping them votes. The Democrats were voting as one block. They were solid, man. Unfortunately, we just can't say that about Hakeem Jeffries, now can we? And right, this isn't, to bash the Democrats. That's not what this video. That's not what this this recording is for. But it's really just to get out some frustrations and to do a nice little jumping off point, right? Um, so let's see. Let's try to get back into that, right? Uh, yeah, man. This shit is crazy. We are about a year and a month into Trump's second presidency, and everything is already gone haywire. Everything's already crazy, right? No one's having a good time. If anybody's telling you they're having a good time, they're a liar and they can't be trusted. In fact, why don't you go ahead and call them people, right? Because they need a psyche eval immediately. Immediately, dude. This is just such unfair, and you can't even say it's unprecedented times because it's been like this for the past 10 years with Trump just being the public figure that he is. Even when Biden was in office for 4 years, he was still just looming around, still gathering headlines, right? He was able to stir up so much. He was able to stir up his base so much around the Hunter Biden stuff, and the not releasing the Epstein files, and boom, now the Epstein files are released, and he had to go kill, he had to go murder, assassinate another world leader to try to distract the American public for the fact that he's in the Epstein files so many times you can't even count them. You know what I mean? He's in there so many, like that was his best friend. There's so many photos of Trump and Epstein. He wrote this guy like just the most lewd and inappropriate birthday card with an abstract drawing of what seems to be a nude girl, not a woman, but a nude girl, just based off of the drawing there. It's absolutely disgusting, man. And this is all stuff you can look up. You can just look it up. He has, and the other thing is he's doing so many things at once, right? He's getting his MAGA Republicans to try to do so many things at once. They're attacking trans people. They're attacking immigrants. They're attacking black people. They're attacking women. They're attacking the education system, right? They're attacking all of these things at once, right, to try to make it seem like they have, you know, undeniable power, right? That it's unchecked, that this is a full mandate and they're losing. And the thing is, those losses aren't as public as, their perceived wins. But I'm telling you, man, like, this is just such a wild time to be alive because like, if you let him win, he'll win. But we keep pushing back, we keep fighting, and we keep saying, no, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. We keep taking it to the courts. We keep taking it, to our politicians. We just keep fighting it at every turn. And that's the only way to win is to just not give up here. Right. And I just think that's so important. I think it's so important, right? I call this project Bystander Impact, but the real core message behind it, of course, is to not be a bystander. You see all this stuff that's going on, being quiet, being silent doesn't save you, right? Joining in on the hate, right, won't protect you, right? The only thing, right, that you can really do to make some type of real substantial change here is to be active, right? And I'm not saying that you got to be out in the streets. I'm not saying that you need to post every single day, but you need to do something, man. You really do. You need to have these conversations in your personal life. Maybe, and even if you just send, somebody like me or whoever you listen to, right? About who's, ranting and raving about politics, and you send that to your friends and loved ones, and you be like, yo, dude, I don't know, I agree with this guy. Do something to get the ball rolling, right? If you send $5 to a charity you like that's out there doing good, right? Maybe the ACLU or whatever, you know, PBS, NPR, whatever, right? People that are out there just trying their best to, keep people informed and fight the good fight and make sure that, if we go down, we at least go down swinging, right? That means something that does so much more than you just being scared and living in fear, man. Living in fear is just not something you want to do. It's just not a place you want to be. Trust me, dude. And yeah, like everything that's going on right now, we all obviously knew that it was going to happen because he said that he would do this. He said that he likes retribution. That's what he was campaigning on. He was saying that he wants mass deportations. He has been attacking the trans community for well over a decade now. He's evil and insane and demented person. That's who he is. Right, full stop. There's no denying that. There's no counter argument. And there's so many people, right, that still are trying to hold up some illusion of decorum. Right, decorum went out the window when Trump became the RNC candidate for the presidency, and he had the video clip get released all over national media with him with Billy Bush on that damn bus talking about he grabs women by the pussy. Decorum went out the window a long, long time ago, and trying to get it back and trying to use decorum as a way to, punish Democrats to say that this person is better than this person is foolish, and it's a fool's game. And if you're doing that, I just don't take you seriously. You're just not a serious person. Okay, you're just not. And it's just so wild because, right, obviously I haven't said too much in this video, in this recording about anything specific, right? I talked very briefly about the ways that they're attacking uh Americans, right? Because that's what they're doing, right? It doesn't matter how we, categorize them, right? They're attacking Americans, right? Because even in the mass deportation efforts, they're deporting Americans. That we know. They're deporting naturalized citizens. That we know, right? We know that, those transgender inmates that they're performing conversion therapy on, those are Americans, right? Whether you like the fact that they're in prison or not, those are still Americans, man. The way that he has just been so outwardly racist to black Americans, we're still Americans, dude. Like the way that he talks about women, the way that he has, right, him and his whole regime here are going after reproductive rights and trying to force women into, marriages and to have babies and all this stuff. It's crazy. They don't want you to have control of your own body. And I suspect, I'm just saying, it's probably because Trump doesn't have control over his, dude. Like he wears diapers, man. He has no idea where he is. He's very clearly sundowning, and who knows how long he's been doing that for, you know. Um, so it's just it's just a wild and crazy time, I think, to be a young person in America because if you're a young person in America, right, you still have to get up and go to school and go to work and plan for your future. And no one knows what that future looks like because Donald Trump has just completely destabilized our economy, he's destabilized our culture, right, as Americans. And you have to try to swim up and to fight, dude. And it's wild. It's very, very wild because you still have to find a way, right? Even with all of the stuff that you have to do for yourself as in your personal life, you still have to find a way. It's your like civic obligation to as an adult citizen in this country and in any country to be a part of moving your country to a place where you want it to be, right? And this this isn't where anybody wants it to be. This isn't good for anybody. It's just not. The economy's not, the education system's not, what we're being doing what has the gutting of healthcare is not, the collapse of our economy is not. This is just not good. It's not good. And it's also far too late for anybody who voted for Trump multiple times, especially, for if you're changing your mind, good, change your mind. But like no one is going to be able to just forgive you and accept you in with open arms just because you are going to have to do a lot of work, dude. You're going to have to be out there protesting. You're going to have to come out them pockets, my love, and start donating. You're going to have to do a lot. You're going to have to do a lot to regain the trust of people because you lost it. You lost it when you casted that vote, and you could say you didn't know, and you could say, and you can claim ignorance all that you want, but at the end of the day, it wasn't his first time running. It wasn't even his second time running. It was his third time running. And if you didn't know by the time we got to turn three, it's because you didn't want to know, man. It's because you didn't want to know. You didn't want to believe the possibility that you were wrong. You didn't want to believe the possibility that Trump was just like every other politician, except he's not. He's far, far worse. Far, far worse. And yeah, man, I just think that where we are right now as a country, it's not the best place. It's definitely not the best place. It might be um the worst place that we've been as a country, culturally and politically, in my lifetime, you know, and that's heartbreaking. It's gut wrenching. It's deeply depressing. To be here right now, but it's also one of those things that I think, and not even that it's just that I think, but I know, also just kind of fills me up with so much hope because we have been gaining some more community and collective thinking with our efforts in fighting back, right? Um, Trump ordered the gay pride flags to be removed from Stonewall. They're back up. Trump ordered the paintings depicting slavery in Philadelphia to be removed. They're back up. You know, judges are blocking his executive orders at every turn because they're illegal, because they suck, right? The Supreme Court, and probably the only thing, not even the only, I won't say that, I won't say that, we'll talk about the Supreme Court later in a different episode. But recently the Supreme Court was like, no, like, Trump doesn't have the power to impose tariffs. Tariffs are taxes. Only Congress has the ability to do that, right? It's just such a, you know, for as dark as a time that it is. It is, that's where light is the brightest, is when it's really dark. And there's so many more people, waking up to what's going on. There's so many more people that are, being politically active for the first time in their lives. And, if I want to end this on the most positive note that I can, right? Any day, you can stop being a bystander at any moment in time. At any moment in time, you can just stop being a bystander. Um, I need you to know that that's very important to me, right? You don't have to, you know, keep staying silent because you were silent before, right? It doesn't matter what motivates you to start speaking up, to start advocating for yourself and your community, because I guarantee you, dude, your community is also under attack. This isn't even good for rich white guys in the long run. It's not. And there are some rich white guys that know that. There's no one is winning right now. No one besides Trump and his cronies, and not even all of his cronies, are winning right now. So, if there was ever a time for you to challenge yourself and to be brave, now is that time. You know, you're not, you don't get to be brave when it's easy. You can only be brave when it's hard, right? That's, it's not in the definition, but it is a prerequisite to being brave, right? It's a prerequisite to being courageous. It's a prerequisite to being a hero, right? And I'm not saying that every person that's speaking up and standing out is a full-on activist, is a full-on hero, but you're every time that you do, and every time that you advocate for yourself, advocate for your community, every time that you go out there and volunteer, every time that you donate money to mutual aid and other causes, every time that you do that, you're a hero to somebody. I guarantee you right now, there's somebody out there that was just waiting to hear a message from you, to just hear, you know, that you're with them, that you have their back. There was just somebody out there that really needed those $5 and you sent it, and that made all the difference in the world. I'm telling you, when times like this, it is so imperative, it's so important that we lean on each other, that we build community, and that we act as if, we know that each other matters, as if we act as if we understand the weight and the severity of this moment, because it is heavy and it is serious, and it does suck when everything is heavy and serious when you're so young. But you know what? At least it's not heavy and serious when you're old. We're young enough to fight. We're resilient enough, to fight. We're smart enough to organize. We don't have to panic. We don't have to buy in to any of this, fugazi nonsense that they got, running around, that they're trying to, ram down our throats and try to convince us, right, that they won. They haven't won. They haven't won, right? So, to wrap this up, make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure you have all your documentations in order, just in case. And we'll get into that in a later episode. I believe the next episode that I'll make is probably going to be about the mass deportations and everything with ICE. But for now, you can start speaking up whenever you want. Whenever you want, you can start speaking up. You can start contacting your governor, your senators, your representatives at any point that you want. You can join your local leftist organization. You can join your local, not even leftist, but just a political organization that's fighting back against this. You can protest any day that you want, man. There's no cutoff. There's no cutoff in timeline, and there's no prerequisites um to fight against this, to speak up against this. So I really hope, listening it does something for you as it did for me, and I'll see you on the next side. Thanks for playing.